Hi everyone, welcome back to Money for Med Students, a series where we talk to med students, residents, physicians, and other professional trainees to get a head start on your personal finance education, reduce your future loan burden, and prevent burnout due to lack of financial literacy. Today, I'll be talking with Kinza Hussain, a medical student, YouTuber, and social media influencer. So let's get started. Well, I will let you introduce yourself first.
Hi,
So you can
everyone.
kick it off. Yeah.
For those who are listening or watching, my name is Kinza. I'm a third-year medical student in the US. I am actually in Maine right now for medical school. I'm currently doing my rotations, and I have a YouTube channel and Instagram and TikTok as well if you guys want to check it out. I like to share my journey on there. I do have a podcast, but it's not very active at the moment, where I also interviewed Jay, I believe last year. It's been a while, and now he gets to interview me, so I'm very excited.
Oh, that's funny that you bring it up. I think almost, like a year ago, we were having a conversation. So I just wanted to kick it off by kind of asking you whether your medical school or along your journey in undergrad, you had any background in finance or learning about personal finance and what that looks like for you.
Yeah, that's a great question. So throughout college, the answer is no. I didn't think about finance at all. I was lucky that, my parents were supporting me, plus a little bit of a loan to get through, and I had a scholarship for my university. So we were able to manage getting by in college. And then my boyfriend actually is very financially literate, and he actually became more financially literate after he graduated pharmacy school because his loan payments started kicking in and he started educating himself more about it. So through that, I learned a lot more about it as well. And for me, entering medical school was going to be a huge financial burden. So I was able to kind of enter school with the perspective of being smart with my money and being able to take care of some expenses and not taking out a whole lot of loan money besides my tuition. So that's kind of how my financial literacy journey started. It was really through him, and I got lucky for that. Otherwise, I don't think I would really know half as much as I do now. And then my MBA, actually my college university was offering a free master's degree for alumni, and they started that the year I graduated. So it was like, oh, like if I can get a master's degree for free, well, obviously you have to qualify for the scholarship.
Yeah.
I think you just needed a certain GPA. You had to be an alumni. And this is at Massachusetts College of Pharmacy and Health Sciences in Boston, by the way. And you had to just, answer essays and stuff. So if you got selected for the scholarship, you got to you could either do your MPH or your MBA. There were a couple other degrees. I don't remember what they were. But I decided to just go for MBA to kind of keep my options open for job opportunities in the future. And knowing, my boyfriend was in pharmacy and they have a lot of job opportunities that they can go for. It's not as, it's not like you do pharmacy school and you can only go into retail and work in Walgreens or CVS. You can do a fellowship, you can work in hospitals, you can work in industry. So I feel like in pharmacy, like students know how many options they have. Whereas in medicine, it's like, oh, you go to medical school, you do a residency in something, and you're just like a provider for the rest of your life. But that's not the case. If you have an interest, you can also work in industry. You can also start a business and do something like that. So that's kind of why I started my MBA.
Do you feel like if you were already considering doing an MBA before this scholarship opportunity came up, or like this free opportunity to do it, or was it like, oh, now's the chance because this would be a financially good choice?
Yeah. So are you asking like if I didn't have that option, would I still do it?
Yeah, like if it was something you had to pay for, or was it already on your mind before the opportunity presented itself?
No, it wasn't on my mind, honestly, before the opportunity presented itself. I know people do like dual degrees going through medicine. So I knew about that. That was on my mind. Like, oh, I can do a master's with my medical school if I wanted to. But I don't know. I don't think that I would have done it, honestly, during medical school if there was no scholarship opportunity, because then you're only adding to your loan balance. And there's no reason for you to get a second degree when you have to pay for it. You want to wait until either a scholarship's available, or there's a lot of companies, if you work for them, that will pay for your master's degree up to a certain point. Like they'll give out stipends. So maybe your residency program. Well, I don't know what the different perks are, but I would definitely wait until at least residency or beyond that.
Awesome. Just to backtrack too, it sounds like you kind of got lucky in a sense by, having people in your life that knew about finance and kind of led you down that path. Do you feel like when you were younger, you had parents that were savvy to be able to teach you from a young age, or did you feel like, you had to figure it out as you were going along?
No, that's a good point. My parents, they're not in the business world. They are financially literate, but like my mom loves to, play in the stock market. My dad has real estate. So they are financially literate, but it wasn't kind of something that they like sat us down and taught us about. I think we're always conservative with our money. And I think, my mom always saying, do not take out all the loan money that they offer you. The refund is not really a refund. And all she gave me like those suggestions. And I think that's shaped, how I spend my money now. But I wouldn't say they like sat us all down and they were like, okay, this is how you make money, and this is how you save money, and this is how you beat the system.
And of course.
None of that.
And do you feel like in your medical school, has there been any education with regards to personal finance, whether it's formal or informal part of the curriculum?
Yeah, they did it in an informal way, which I actually appreciated. They started doing, after COVID hit, they started doing Zoom
Hmm.
sessions. So it was totally voluntary. And they did advertise it in the sense of like, hey, you guys are gonna, leave med school with a lot of loan money at the end of it. And I'm sure you've thought about how are you gonna pay it all back, quickly or smartly in a smart manner. So they did Zoom sessions and I joined one or two, and they did have valuable things to offer from that. So yeah, our school did.
Hmm. Yeah, and the only reason I asked that is because not everyone is doing it, or I guess even informally, it's not being done, and let alone formally as part of the curriculum. But that's something that I find is very crucial, like trying to integrate it. I know we're already so, it's a big time crunch. We're already having to learn so much medicine, but then we start working and we have no idea what's happening, and we start making
Yeah, I
money.
totally agree. And I think, I think the education should start back in middle school and high school.
Hmm.
And I feel like there's this, this concept of the rat race. And the reason why schools don't teach us is because society wants us to get jobs and,
Mm.
work for other people. And I think that, there's this whole like theory behind why we're not taught financial literacy.
Yeah.
We would save on taxes. We would, how to pay loans back or maybe not take out as much loan money, which, banks don't want. So I
Hmm.
think there's that reason behind why we're not taught financial literacy when we should start.
That's a fair point. I'd actually never thought it about that way, to be completely honest. But now that you bring it up, it's a
Even in
strategy.
medicine, right?
Yeah.
Yes, it costs a lot for like the resources we're paying for. We pay for anatomy lab and our courses and stuff like that. So I understand the cost of it to an extent.
Hmm.
It doesn't have to be 60,000 a year, I don't think. But like you graduate and doctors spend a lot of their life paying it back. Like I've met doctors in their 50s who are finally finishing their loan payments. And it's like, oh, but you make, a good amount of money, like you would expect them to finish earlier. But as you get older, you have more responsibilities. Like right now, I have zero responsibilities besides my cat
Yeah.
and me
Yeah.
and my apartment, paying for my apartment. But as you get older, you get married, you have kids, you buy a house, you have mortgage payments now, you buy a nicer car, maybe you have car payments. So your expenses really rack up too. And like people aren't taught that perspective either. You don't think about that until you get there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then have your loan payment on top of it.
You're right. You mentioned like, oh, my parents didn't sit me down and teach me how to like do everything, but just those little nuanced things of how to save a little bit, how to not use every loan that's offered to you. I think that's just enough to make a big change. And with that, you also brought up that we as people that graduate from medical school and then residency, we don't realize there's so many other opportunities out there to do more than just practice and see patients every day. And I wanted to ask you, I guess, how did you decide to start making your own website and kind of getting involved in more of these, proofreading and doing mock interviews and having this side hustle that maybe a lot of other students don't think about, even like, oh, I could maybe do something that I'm already doing that can help me during medical school.
Yeah. I mean, I think medical school is so time consuming that it's really hard to also do those things on the side. And there are now a lot more influencers that are saying like, oh, I started a small business, again, of like mentorship programs. I've been seeing that, or YouTube, Instagram, all that can help, make you money if you use it in the right ways. So the first thing to really point out is it's hard. The time commitment is real. And a lot of people I think do prefer to be like, I'm going to spend most of my time on studying, becoming the best provider that I can be for the future. But for me, it didn't start as a side hustle or anything. It started because I was currently applying to medical school, and then I got in and I had some time, before actually starting med school to help other people. So that's how I started editing essays, and mock interviews started a little bit later when I finally, was in medical school and I learned more about what admission committees look for. So it didn't start as a side hustle. It definitely has turned into like a small, I guess, business, but it's like not on a large scale by any means. It does help, pay for like maybe groceries or, add to my rent payment. So it's helpful, but it's really gratifying when those same people you've helped email you back and say they've gotten into medical school, and like my essay edits and mock interview advice helped them so much that they got in. And that's why I keep doing it, even when it's hard to find time, especially in third year.
Yeah. So that was my next question. How are you finding the time? It's like, how do you find the time for even just a 1 hour mock interview or a 1 hour conversation with somebody when you're on a crunch?
I don't in third year. Like, honestly, I don't do it as much. Even YouTube, sorry, my cat. Even for YouTube, I think I post only one video a month now versus doing a video every week. Third year is really time consuming because you're full time in the hospital and then you have to get home and study or even cook dinner. And like, I don't even have time to study sometimes. So yeah, I'm not doing it as much. I've done maybe one mock interview this month.
But you're right. But you're right. It helps. Even if it's just one mock interview, even if it's just one essay per month, it's right. It's better than nothing, I guess. And my purpose is in a way to get people to realize you can kind of help yourself with things that you're already doing. There's a lot of people that already do art, for example, and it's like if you can think in a little bit of an entrepreneurial perspective, you can turn that into something that will help you. But you're right, it's a matter of, do I want to sit down and dedicate the time to do that? Or am I just going to fully focus on studying and trying to be the best student I can be?
Absolutely. I think you have to have an interest
Yeah.
in it, in a sense of like wanting to do it.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to like love money to want to do it, but it's like fun at the same time. I just remembered that I used to paint a lot in high school and college. So I remember I was a sophomore, I think, and I started a little side hustle of painting canvases, personalized canvases for people. So basically whatever they wanted, I would paint it.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I had an entrepreneurial mindset like a while ago, and it just kind of manifested into what I do now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And I think anybody can do it, whether, they have a talent of something or not. It's just a matter of, do you want to do it? And I guess my last question for you is, oftentimes like becoming more financially literate can seem so overwhelming because there's just so much information and so many things out there. What would you say are like 3 items of advice that you could give to a medical student that they could take those 3 pieces of information and like act on it tomorrow?
Loaded question.
I always like something that is tangible, something that I know I can do. I can sit down and read a specific book tomorrow if I had to. But if you just tell me, go and learn about investing tomorrow, it's much more nebulous. So
okay.
Do you have, it doesn't, we'll take it, whatever it is. It's any piece of advice.
So the first one would be to read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. That's Rich Dad, Poor Dad. That's the one book every business person reads. Like that's the first one. Mm-hmm. My younger brother is in high school and he read it because he's super busy. Like he has a business mind for sure. So read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It's a great book. Even if you're not going into business, it's really helpful in teaching you financial literacy. If you're super like just not financially literate, it uses basic vocabulary. It's not hard to read. I haven't read this book, but I've heard The White Coat Investor is a good book for medical students or physicians. Mm-hmm. A lot of the advice is geared towards, I think, providers that earn a lot. So our specialized providers or surgeons or, dermatologists, I've kind of noticed that in their blog, that a lot of their advice gears to people who have a lot of money. But I still want to read it. I think it's worth the read. And then, so those are 2 books that I would recommend. The third thing I would recommend is to maybe watch a YouTube video on loans, like how they work. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people might not even know that their loan payments kick in 6 months after graduating med school. So just watch a YouTube video. YouTube has everything, and it's usually it's very easy to consume. So learn about kind of like what your interest rate is for your loan. How much are you going to owe? How much interest do you accrue every year? What is interest? Maybe you don't even know what interest is. So like stuff like that. And then a third piece of advice would be to watch your spending. So I have an Excel sheet where I budget. I'm not caught up for like the past 2 months, full transparency, but I do have data for like a year of budgeting basically. And I record every single thing I bought for the month, how much money I made for the month based on different, streams of income, even including like cash, if my parents give me some money. So I log all of it on there, and that helps me see how much money was coming in this month, how much did I make versus how much did I spend. Yeah. And if you log it every day, you are a little bit more, you're paying attention to where your money goes a lot more. It's really easy to like not pay attention and just swipe your card every day on stuff. But if you're logging it every day, you're like, okay, I'll be better about my spending tomorrow because today I just spent $100. Mm-hmm. So you might not go to 7-Eleven to grab an iced tea and the snack. You'll just be like, whatever, like I can just grab a snack from my pantry that I have right now. Mm-hmm. So I think I would do that. So those are my 3 pieces of advice. You can find a lot of templates on Reddit. You can watch a YouTube video and make your own template. You can download the app Mint, which does it for you. I have that app, but I don't like it as much because it's not as, I can't like personalize it too much, I use, kind of in a similar manner of the Excel spreadsheet, I use Spending. It's an app, but you can just input everything that you do in that moment rather than like in Mint where they just track it for you and then you see the results. Oh, that's awesome. Moment I buy a coffee from McDonald's, I manually put it in and then it can come and then you can export it as an Excel spreadsheet. So I really like that because I'm not on my computer all the time. So that's where the backlog comes in. And you're like, shoot, I haven't done this in the last 2 months. But I love that recommendation. I really would love to see how many people are actually tracking, especially medical students. Are we actually thinking about what's going on here? Yeah, that sounds like a great app that I might need or switch over to, honestly. So I'll check it out too.
Yeah, Spending is what it's called. Pretty appropriate. But awesome. Yeah. So great recommendations. Read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, The White Coat Investor. Check out some YouTube videos on, student loans if you don't know what they are, which most medical schools I find don't do that great of a job of explaining what they are. And watch your spending. And with that, we'll wrap up the interview. Do you have any final words of wisdom for anybody that might be a medical student trying to figure out finances?
Yeah, words of wisdom really are, it's not to say like you can't enjoy your life and not spend money everywhere, but it's also to say if you're smart now, just the way you are with your studying and, your investment in your future career, I would also encourage you to be smart about your spending and your literal investment in how much money you have in the
Mm-hmm.
future. And, just think about other ways to pay off your loans as well, like real estate, like investing in the stock market. There are a lot of medical students that I know that invest in the stock market too. And little steps of saving money help you, make enough to actually invest in the future. So those are just my last few words that I wanted to say.
Okay, awesome. And with that, we'll end it here. Well, thanks for tuning in, everyone. If you have any questions, you can drop them down below. In the description, you will also find the key takeaway notes from this discussion, as well as Kinza's social media and blog if you want to check her out. Lastly, don't forget to like, subscribe. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next time.